Hello YouTube family, James Green, Short Serious Shenanigans. So this is going to be episode 2 of the repair on the Marvel Schebler carburetor. Okay, so in the other video I showed grinding on camera. Yes, it was noisy. I did have some people ask and inquire about, they wanted more information on this grinder. Now, if you guys have questions about tools or whatever, and you see in the background, because at times I've got so many different things, I always have different people asking about, you know, they'll see my grinders hanging behind my toolbox, or they'll see other tools. You know, guys, let me know which specifically you're talking about. But there was interest from several viewers in regards to this grinder. Now, if you fast forwarded through the video, you missed where I talked about this grinder in particular that I was using. Okay, I will show it again because I've actually had several people ask about it. Okay, it is NSK, and there's your model number. Okay, I don't have any data on this as far as the book. I purchased this used. It's been a very, very good tool. I really like it. It does have a little suppressor or a little muffler on the end there. It's very quiet. Hooks up to a standard air hose. You change the fitting according to fit whatever you want. What I do, just to make sure, because I did pull up the information, I Googled it or Wikied it. That's what I always used to tell my soldiers. Google it, look it up. But the model number on here is NSP-601A. Again, the manufacturer is NSK. It's made in Japan, and you turn it off and on right here. And it does use quite a bit of air, and it's very, very good. You can control this. It doesn't bog down. I've had import pencil grinders in the past, and they just don't last. Now, I will say this, with any other air tool, make sure you add oil. And there's a myriad of oils depending on what you like to use. I happen to have the 3-in-1 oil. I use this in a lot of different stuff. Because of where I'm at here in New Mexico, I don't have a lot of moisture problems, but I do have air separators on my main output before they go into the lines. So make sure you, like with anything, and depending on how much grinding I'm doing with this, I always add oil just to make sure. It opens up, it has a little wrench, cross pin it in here, and uses the standard 1/8" Dremel bits, any of them, the myriad of carbide burrs, grinding stones, sanding discs, whatever your choice may be. So there you go. It's got about a I'm going to say a 5-foot air hose on it here. You can kind of see how long it is. So there you go. I hope that's cleared up any misunderstandings. Like I said, I had about 5 or 6 people ask me. They wanted to know more about it. So there you go. Look the model number up. I know these are not cheap. They're not. I purchased this one used. I happened to find it, and I jumped right on it. These, if you can afford them, these are worth the money. Trust me. You can do a lot with one of these. So back on target. What we're going to be doing with the carburetor here, to reiterate, I went in after we got off camera and with doing repairs on this stuff, you've got to have, you can't see all the cracks with your eye, and as we get older, we know our vision goes. You can pick these up. I got this one at MSC/Enco. It was about $50. Now they come with like 3 different lenses you can put in here. I believe this is the 10 power. I'd have to look and see, but anyway, you really have to get in and look, and once you put these on, then the cracks appear and you can find them, and like I said, just follow the rust, you'll be good to go. So what we're going to do now is the lathe portion of the work. We got our graphite rod, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and 1/8" graphite rod was too small, it was too loose, so I ordered in some 1/2" stuff. Because I didn't have any. I thought I had some, it's gone, whatever. Anyway, got some in. We're going to go ahead and turn this down and fit it to size. This is going to be the backer material for everything. And we're actually going to make it pretty long. We're going to go back in here Get my narrow ruler out. Okay. It's going to be about 1 inch, about 1 3/8 inches is what we're going to go back in there. Okay, about that far. We have enough room, and we're also going to, once we get down close, I'm going to use my hand file because there is a bit of a taper in there, and I want to maintain that so we don't have a straight shot. So this is where, and I don't have a taper attachment. I've had people say, hey, why don't you get one or make one? For what little taper work I do, I can use a hand file, especially on this soft stuff. So we're going to work down, and for our, I guess we'll call it our major diameter, what I will do, zero this out again. I always like to go out and then in, 0, out, and then in, and it's read 0. That's something I do every day, and I do that every day because depending on temperature, and I change the battery every couple months. So we'll get an approximate inside diameter here. That'll work for this. At the front, we are 370, and further back we are 338, so you can tell there's that much of a taper. And so we are going to sneak up on it, and I will show this on video. We'll have the part handy there because we're going to be using it. These we'll go ahead and put away because we're going to go ahead and get down to, love my Mitutoyos. We'll go ahead and start getting over here, and since it's the first time I'm using this today, I pulled it out. This is kind of a ritual I go through. Okay, and come down here. And of course this goes to 5 places past the decimal, which I don't use 5 places past the decimal. What I do is I bring it up here to manual 0, check it, 0, fingernails aren't long enough, there we go. Okay, so I've set manual 0 in there. I do that every single day, and then I come back, manual 0, manual 0, yep, okay. So even though sometimes you'll get a 5 or something that appears down there at the 5th decimal place, I don't worry about that. So okay, we know we're zeroed, and we're going to be down around the 370 range, so we'll go ahead and open it to up to 385, and we will set it up here. We'll go ahead and chuck up our material to start with, and the reason I'm not going to cut off a piece and then put it on is because if I mess up, I don't want to have, you know, you wait till you get to where you want it and made, and then you go ahead and cut it off. That's kind of the, you know, instead of chop a piece off and throw it in there, then you've ended up wasting that little piece. So we know this is going to be an overall length of approximately 1 3/8 inches, and we've got 1 3/4 inches sticking out. That's more than enough. Gives us a little extra room, and we're very careful. Now the tool we're going to be using here is a positive raked insert. Yes, it's a carbide insert, but that's fine. I've showed this tool before. Okay, this takes the 200 series triangular insert, and I believe this one is a 331 or 332 insert. Now I've just rotated it. The reason we're using it is a positive rake. So we're going to be doing 2 things today. You want a positive raked anytime you're working on non-ferrous metals or soft materials, because we're going to be working in brass today too. A positive raked insert works very, very, very well. Now, on your other stuff, you know, I'm not going to get into tool geometries and everything. There's a lot of videos out there about that, but so that's what we're going to use, and we're just going to come up here and by hand we're going to sneak up on this and get it to our desired diameter dimension, and then we're going to work down to it. And I will try to get you guys a good, actually move you around here to the end of the lathe so that way you guys aren't you can get a view of what is going on here. And I will try to get up there as best as possible. There we go. All right. We're going to be running 460 RPM. We're just going to come in and work this. We're going to go ahead and face the back off. Actually, before I get started, I need to lay my towel down here. And it is right here. Okay. Because we do want to try to keep a lot of this stuff out there. Been digging through all the old clothes lately, using up all this stuff. So we're going to come up here, pack this in, and use this to catch the majority of. Get our magnets out here. That's what these good, go ahead and back you out here, getting our rag in. That's what these good neodymium magnets are for. Because I like to put it up here on the carriage. And if you put magnets in there, it'll hold it in place. These are really, 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 really strong as well. Slap a couple over here, and I make sure that it is up out of the way of all of the screws, because I have been fortunate enough to not ever get it wrapped up in the screws. That's one thing I always dread. So anytime you throw a towel down here, magnets, 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 and you can pick these up for like $1 something on eBay. Relatively inexpensive, very, very powerful magnets. Definitely worth, they're like $1 a piece or something, very worth it. Okay, so one thing I like to do is move up here with our tool and just kind of do a dry run to make sure that my rag doesn't drop down here into the way. That's just something I've always done. Okay, so it's up out of the way. I'm going to put one more right there. Just because when it gets up close, I don't want it to bunch. There we go. All right, so there we go. Go ahead and move up here, and we'll get started. All that zero. Get our manual zero. Take a measurement, see how our cuts are going. Get an idea where we're at with everything. 444 thou, and we said we needed to be our largest was going to be 370, if I remember correctly. double check ourselves here. Sneak up on it. Again, this is a lot of hand fitting, filing. This is where patience comes into play. So our large diameter here is going to be 383. Okay. Dial in a couple of thou. When I get close on my major diameter, because it's going to be down here on this end, then I'll proceed to go ahead and work in the okay, 434. I just like to do a couple measurements to make sure that everything is advancing correctly as far as the dimensions, everything is jiving. So we'll go ahead and measurement. .384. So there we go. That's close enough to get me where I need to be to start. And what I like to do in instances like this, I'll go ahead and back the camera out and show you guys, because this is kind of like an oddball one-off, let's fit everything in there correctly, is we'll go ahead and pull this back out of the way. Matter of fact, we'll take the tool out for right now. And what I'm going to do is come up here with the part and just do a fit and see, okay, where are we? Okay, it's just starting to fit. So that, because this is going to end up here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slowly come in with a mill bastard file. And this is where just a little bit of shaping it by hand with a file comes into play for doing this. Because trying to cut it all on the machine will not work. Stop and start and check. Okay, we're on about 1/4 of an inch now, so you just got to sneak up on it. Now we're in almost as far as the depth of that original break right there. So we know that I need to work from, and you can almost, if you start to, and that's kind of what we want, is now that it started and I have enough there, and you can roll it back. And this is the trick the old machinist taught me years ago. If you roll it back, then you know, okay, I've already got threads there. I don't need to touch that area, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'll bring the camera around so you guys can see what I'm talking about, because I know it's hard to see from where you're at there. Okay, what it is right here, and of course everything has to be in the way. I will try to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Alright, you can see now that we've attempted to thread it on. Whoop. I'm trying to look in the viewfinder here. Okay, so you can see now that it has attempted to start to thread on, you know that you can stay away from that with the file because that's already going to be working. And if you need to, you can go back, but you can tell, okay, from here forward, we need to go ahead and put it on, because right now we're going about that deep and we need to go deeper to support even further back. So this is all part of the start and stop and check. It goes in, and we do want it to thread. Now I've taken a pipe tap in here and I have tapped really deep in here. There's plenty of room. So the idea is that I want to be able to thread this in there relatively deep and have it hold. And there we go. That's gonna work. So we'll call that good. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, and then we're just gonna come in here and part this off. And there's always a different way to do things. Everyone has their own method of the madness here. This just happens to be mine. So what we'll do, grab our high-speed steel part off tool. There we go. And we'll come up here. And I'm going to leave a little extra. I'm actually going to part off back here with a large portion. So there we go. We have achieved the graphite piece. I'll go ahead and back the camera up. Actually, I'll leave it right there. So we have now created our backer piece that we can screw in there. And we now have a good starting area where we can go in to support for brazing up, filling in, and we'll try to show you as much as we can on camera. So there's that one, and we're not worried about that. You know, I might grind that off with a file, but there we go. We got the backer in. So the next thing in the next video is going to be creating. We'll go ahead and take this out of the way. And I'm going to clean all this stuff up off camera. In the next video, and why? Because we're almost reaching our 30-minute mark. We have, and we're going to create what we talked about. Is we're going to recreate this. Okay, it's always good to have extra chunks of brass laying around. And so we are going to turn this down. Now, I'm not going to put all 6 flats on here. You don't need it, because you could, but you know, we're just going to put 2 flats on here, this new one that we make. And like we said, we're going to go in and recreate this, because this is the ferruled end. We'll measure all this stuff prior to camera and we'll write it down so we can go a lot quicker. And then so we'll create this thread and this thread, and so it's all, you know, we're going to endo the part a couple of times, and I'm going to put on the 5C. This is where working, because we'll end up with a small part after we part it off of here. This is where the 5C comes into its own, and that's why I love it. And you get away from the 3-jaw, because you can hold threaded items that are in a soft material without damaging them. That's why I'm a big fan of the 5C. And so this is 1/8" pipe, and I'll figure out what, you know, correct nomenclature. That's like a 3/8 ferrule fitting is what it is. So very common here in the United States. And so there we go. That'll be the next video. We'll get everything ready and set up and all that stuff. We're going to clean up all the graphite here, get our vacuum, make sure we don't get that stuff in our way. So there you go. Video number 2 of repair of the Marvel Schebler carburetor. This is creating the graphite insert. There you go. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me, eagledustoff37@gmail.com. If you have any questions about anything, try to clarify it. I know, because I get so many questions at times. Sometimes it's hard to get them all answered at one time. I do try to stay on top of that stuff so that it doesn't pile up. But generally, this time of the day right now, depending on what's going on, I'll usually, so don't be surprised if you get a response from me at like 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning Mountain Standard Time here in the United States. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll get everything set up and we'll show you part 3, making the brass nipple that's going to be in here. So there you go. Take care of yourself and take care of your family, because remember, at the end of the day, you and your family is all you got. Until next time, guys, be safe, get out in the shop, make some parts. This stuff's fun. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.